Hey guys, Jake from McLean Prez back at you with the next parable in our series. And today we're talking about the parable of the rich fool. And the parable of the rich fool is really about covetousness. It's about desiring, longing after, seeking after things of this earth instead of heavenly things. And we're going to talk about what that means here in just a minute as we read through this. But when I think about covetousness and I think of my own life, I think about when the iPhone first came out. I wanted the iPhone so bad. It was brand new and it had this status symbol of a lifestyle or wealth or just being cool. And I had this old clunky flip phone and I wanted it so bad. And you started to see people with the iPhone on the metro system, the subway system here in the DC area. And one of the ways, even if they weren't holding the phone in their hand, that you could tell that they had the phone was with the earbuds. These old things that you'd see people wearing, and it just represented this coolness. And usually they had, like a Starbucks cup in their hand, and I wanted it so bad. But thinking back now, just how temporary that iPhone was. Now we have several iterations of the iPhone now. I think I have the iPhone 9 or 10, and if you gave me that original iPhone, I'd be so disappointed in my phone. The earbuds we don't have anymore. We have the AirPods now, and even these are out of date. There's a new version than these, and it's so temporary. And what we're going to learn about in this parable is God saying, stop seeking after temporary things. So let's read this parable and then talk about it for just a minute. So we're reading from Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21. And someone in the crowd said to him being Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God.'" So this man is coming to Jesus and he's saying, "Hey, tell my brother to divide our inheritance evenly between us." And it's interesting because immediately he sees Jesus' authority, but is not necessarily following his teaching. And Jesus is saying, watch out for covetousness. What's interesting about covetousness is it's one of the 10 commandments. And if we were making a law for our town or our society, this is probably not one we'd include because we can't really see it. Sometimes we can, but unlike the other 10 commandments about stealing or murdering or other things, we can't necessarily see covetousness. Yet it was included in those 10 commandments. And I think that just shows us how important it is and how prevalent it is within our hearts. So Jesus tells the story of a rich farmer who ended up with more crops than he knew what to do with. And so he says, "You know what I'll do? I will just create this life of luxury for myself. I'll create bigger barns, store everything up, and that way I can just focus on myself." And God is saying, no, you're not understanding what it's like to be rich, to be truly rich. In fact, he calls him a fool for focusing his life on pursuing eating, drinking, and being merry instead of pursuing heavenly things. And so I want to ask us, how are we doing that in our life? How are we pursuing earthly riches instead of godly riches? Guys, I love you. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you take a look at the questions below and spend some time in God's Word and prayer this morning.